let's go ahead and rock this out. So we had to make a little bit of a change logistically as far as what we are talking about today. Originally, we had planned to talk about electrification and specifically electrification in the automotive world and how that is impacting our industry, and talk about specifically from a leak test perspective and from a data collection, data management perspective. But we are shifting gears today because the person that we were going to have participate with us wasn't able to join. So he had some changes to his schedule. So today we're going to talk about winning and losing, something that, is I'm passionate about. I love to win. That's part of what, drives a lot of this process, especially if you are in sales, or I think we all just enjoy winning, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But along with winning, there's losing. And oftentimes our fear of loss is what prevents us from attempting to win in the first place. So we're going to talk about that. I wrote an article on this, and Vicky turned this into a presentation. So hopefully this is meaningful for you and worthwhile to hear. So a reminder about what we're about here at CapEx. Our mission is to add value to our customers, period. That's what we want to do every single day when we have the opportunity. We want to build relationships that work. That is the reality of it. So every Wednesday we go live, and the reason that we go live is we want to share some type of valuable content that is going to help our customers grow. We want to be adding value to their lives, not only from an equipment perspective, which is what we sell, but from a personal perspective, help them grow in their career and in their personal lives. So CapEx Sales, we represent ATC Automation. They are out of Cookeville, Tennessee. 85% of their business is with repeat customers. And that says a lot in the automation industry because there are a lot of ones and dones out there. So we take a lot of pride in the fact that the majority of the business that we do every year is with repeat customers. Cincinnati Test Systems, I started working with these guys, the small company out of Harrison, Ohio, actually Cleves, Ohio back then. And it's amazing to have been a part of and watch the growth of Cincinnati Test Systems. They are now the largest leak test company in the world. So much to be proud of, just a bunch of great people there. Duquesne is plastic joining, anything plastic joining. They are a global organization that welds plastic together, whether it's ultrasonically, hot plate welding, vibration welding, spin welding, infrared welding. If it's welding of plastic, they do it, I don't think they do Bic lighters, that's how we used to melt things together, but that's out these days, but they have much more sophisticated technology for joining plastics together. And then Symetric is a part of Cincinnati Test Systems. I mentioned them separately because they focus on high speed in process test and data management. So that is what they do every day. So unique as compared to functional testing and leak testing, although they do some of that as well. But Keller Technologies right here in Fort Mill, South Carolina, they have a comprehensive line of industrial air filtration. That's wet and dry filtration for your industrial applications. All right, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about winning and the challenge. So the challenge that we have is what is winning? Winning is outperforming the competition or overcoming your desire to quit. So I think that we win when we not only outperform our competition, but when we also are able to motivate ourselves and keep ourselves energized to move forward and not quit. So humans are predisposed to quitting, right? So homeostasis, what we want to do when something gets uncomfortable, when something's hard, we want to move away from it. It's natural for us to want to get back on the couch after we have gotten up to maybe do some exercise, or it's just easier to do nothing instead of doing something. So we are just naturally predisposed to conserve energy. That's really what it is about. And understanding that there's nothing wrong with you. That is how we are wired. And so what we must do is motivate ourselves and learn how to overcome the homeostasis, that desire to conserve energy that is naturally, it's innate in who we are. Overcoming that is the key. And obviously many have figured that out. So stressors in our lives take us out of balance. So it's difficult to win when we are stressed out, when we are off of our game, when we easily succumb to the challenges that we are facing. So we must maintain a level of balance and our equilibrium to continue to not quit and to continue to push forward toward whatever it is that we desire. So we must reject the path of least resistance, right? Again, homeostasis, conserving of energy. So the path of least resistance, that's where we most often go, is we don't want to push forward because pushing forward is theoretically more difficult than staying where we are. But the reality is the emotional drain that goes along and that we experience as a result of not pushing forward, of acquiescing to that resistance that we are facing, the emotional discord that we carry in and throughout our lives weighs far more and is far more difficult to overcome than overcoming the resistance to move forward and pursue our dreams, our goals, whatever it is that we're moving forward in pursuing. Again, we're talking about winning here. So individual resistance versus organizational resistance. So if you are an individual, so obviously we have our challenges individually, and we must overcome in order for us to pursue and to win and excel. And then there's also organizational resistance. So organizations get stymied in their resistance, their desire to stay where they are, to not overcome and not begin to gain some inertia in making change. So we're going to talk about those two. So the challenge that we have to overcome is that individual resistance that is innate in all of us, and then the organizational resistance that is particularly troublesome in organizations that have been around for a while. What it takes to win, first and foremost, the winning mindset. So that is a deep belief in our ability to overcome obstacles and achieve the desired outcome. A deep belief. There is nothing more important than making your mind up that you are going to win. There is nothing more important than that. It is the belief that we can win no matter what the odds are. And it is, I get it. It is so challenging at times. I preach this stuff. I talk about it all the time, and I'm motivated. I write about it. This is my life, and I struggle. I struggle every day to maintain a winning mindset. I get down. I get frustrated. Things don't go my way. And it is really challenging for all of us to maintain that winning mindset. So we want to expect to win. When you're going to do anything, when you go into it, expect to win. Because if you expect not to win, that's what's going to happen. Our mind, so I talk about this all the time, but the reticular activating system, the RAS as it's called, the reticular activating system is what works whenever you buy a new Honda Odyssey. So you buy a white Honda Odyssey, and then you realize that every other car in the world is a white Honda Odyssey. So, it's a van, not a car, but you get the point. So the RAS is we see what it is that we are looking for. And so if we go into something and we don't expect to win, then it's pretty much written that we're going to lose, right? So every now and then we will win when we don't expect to win. But the reality is that most of the time we must expect to win in order to help our chances or at least increase our chances of winning. That's the mindset aspect, right? So the difference between losing and winning. Now we're going to lose, but the idea is to take losing and to use it as a tool to help us win in the future, right? What are the lessons learned from losing that we can apply in the future to help us win with greater frequency? Because the reality is we are not going to win every time. Because if we do win every time, then we're not playing a tough enough game, right? We need to step it up. We need to challenge ourselves more if we're winning all the time. So the losing, the success, when we don't achieve success, it's important that we take those lessons, we apply them, and then we will win more. We will increase our ability to take on greater and greater challenges. So the winning mindset, so we want to set higher standards. That's just what I was talking about there, right? So we take every lesson learned and we establish higher standards as it relates to the expectations that we're going to apply in whatever it is that we do. So, and what I'm talking about specifically is in your career, or maybe it's just parenting or in a relationship, right? So set the higher standards, identify what it is to win. What do you want? And then and make sure that that is what you're pursuing. That's the vision that you have for the outcome as you move through the process. Overcoming resistance. So important. Great. There's so many great books written by Stephen Pressfield. He wrote one. It's called The War of Art. And he's a writer. And so he talks a lot about his challenges, overcoming what he calls resistance. Resistance being the enemy of work, the enemy of accomplishing anything, because mainly it's a mental resistance. It is always opposing us. It's always preventing us from maintaining the level of motivation that we need to win, to achieve the success that we are pursuing. So several years ago, we had an opportunity to compete on a major project. So I want to talk about a specific situation. And so we had an opportunity to compete for this project. So the obstacles that we had to overcome, it was a new customer. So we had never done work with this customer in the past. This was the customer's first major automation project, right? So they didn't know what to expect. They didn't even know what to do. So we had to have a lot of work in helping them understand and set the expectations for the equipment. So the competitor was in the same industrial park. So the competitor, one of the major competitors that we had for this automation project was in the same industrial park. And then we were late to the quoting party. So everyone else had already been through one round of quoting by the time we discovered the opportunity. And so this was a new customer, didn't know anything about our company. This was their first major automation project. It was about a $1.4 million project, to kind of give you an idea. And our competitor was in the same industrial park as the customer that we were trying to win. And we were late to the quoting party. So we were late. You can imagine the overwhelming odds were against us, and that my team back at the shop, they weren't so excited about it. They were like, given those odds, the chances of us winning are slim to none. Why are we going to waste our time, right? Because we have limited amount of time. So let's make sure that we are applying our time and our efforts toward a winning strategy. So how do we overcome the resistance that is in those four things? And that's what we're going to talk about moving forward. So overcoming the resistance. What I did, my strategy was, I told them we were going to win. I set the expectation, we are going to win this project. And I did not back down from that. And every statement that came out of my mouth was about how we are going to win, how we are going to align our values as a company, how we're going to align and make sure that the vision that the customer has for the application it ends up in the quotation, so that essentially, they're buying what it is that they wanted to buy. That's what we have to quote, right? We have to quote what the customer wants at the end of the day. And so often, especially when we have a new customer, instead of doing that, what we do is we have all the experience. So I know what you need. I know what you need. And when we tell people we know what they need, that is a recipe for losing. So we wanted to believe in winning. So I worked with a team. We have to believe that winning is possible. And it starts with setting the expectation. We are going to win. So we had a winning mindset throughout all the conversation, every discussion. It wasn't why we were going to lose. It's why we're going to win and how we are going to win, right? So we put together a strategy for success, laid it out. Here's the path to us winning this project. And that's what we did. So we then began to work that plan, right? So we put the strategy together, we set the mindset, we set the tone, we put together a well-crafted plan. So we leveraged our strengths, right? And that's what you have to do. When you're putting a plan together, you want to leverage your strengths. What we tend to do is we tend to focus on what we suck at or what we struggle with. And instead, what we need to do is focus on how can we put our strengths first and foremost in helping us to win whatever it is that we are attempting to succeed and win in. So we want to clearly define the roles and expectations. So everyone, especially if it's a team effort, if you're working as a team, as a company to pursue something and attempt to win something, you want to make sure that you're defining each role and that you've got those expectations set for the people that are participating, for your teammates. So one thing I haven't talked about is this takes leadership, right? So you need someone that is going to lead this process that is vigilant, but yet, so you want some reflection. You want to be able to self-reflect and understand how you're showing up, but you also want to be very direct in setting the expectations. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, it takes almost internal positivity sometimes, or eternal positivity. Even when things are the worst, we got to maintain positivity. We got to believe that there is an opportunity and continue to look for opportunities to succeed. So we want to create that vision for victory. So what does winning look like? So important, right? To help paint that picture of the mansion on the hill for the team, to say, this is what it looks like after we have succeeded in this effort that we are working on together. So we set the expectations. We say, we are going to win. We have the mindset to win. We have the reasons why we're not going to win, but we're not going to use those. We're going to use our strengths and apply our strengths. And then we are going to make sure that we put together a well-crafted plan that is going to ensure our success. So we have to have a timeline. We have to have an action plan. We have to have an open issues list. So we need these different tools that can help us continue to move forward, keep the team focused on what's next. It's called WIN. I think it was an acronym that Lou Holtz threw out there. What's important now? That should always be our question in any endeavor that we're trying. What's important now? Too often we get so sucked into the drama of what's going to happen when we fail. What happens if we fail? Well, that doesn't matter. What's important right now to move us forward, move us closer to winning and succeeding in whatever it is that we're trying. So communication is key, especially if you have a team. You've got to communicate. If you have as your family, you've got to communicate, you got to talk. So you want to welcome feedback, but resist doubt. Welcome feedback, resist doubt. Now, there are plenty of people out there that say, that's Pollyanna. But I'm telling you, and it's proven, science has proven it, that positivity wins far more than negativity. So if you don't believe me, just look at the studies that are out there. And then from a leadership perspective, we want to lead them to victory, right? Leaders set the pace. We've got to do the work. When you're leading this team, when you're moving and leading your family, you've got to set the pace, right? So you can't just tell people what to do and then sit back and wait for them to do it. You've got to lead by example. And so we want to be nimble. So you got to be able to pivot. This is where the big organizations get trampled by the young, nimble organizations, because they're not caught in their ways. They're not resistant to change. If we're nimble, we're able to pivot, and we're able to come up with new concepts and new strategies that allow us to progress our ideas, as opposed to getting stuck in the old ways of how we're going to do things. Responsive, so important. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? So that's a common question that we have to do. So if it doesn't make sense, especially I'm talking specifically from a sales perspective, if the customer comes back and says this doesn't make sense, well, what we need to do is adjust our strategy. We need to pivot, right? We need to pivot to a plan that does make sense for our customers and for our, for people that we're attempting to identify and determine a solution for. So can we do it? Is it feasible? Is it reasonable? And then adjusting our plan accordingly. We must be a customer obsessed, right? So radical about satisfying customer needs. We need to be radical about satisfying the needs of others. And when we do that, and so we're motivated more by the helping of other people and by the contribution, and then we are with what our gain is going to be as a result of it. That is an amazing fuel for moving us forward in pursuing our goals, overcoming the resistance, not quitting, right? So when we're doing it for more than just, money or more than just accolades, it becomes a lot easier to pursue and push through. Creativity, so great. So we want to have innovative solutions to common challenges. And that's, again, how these young companies, these early startups often get an edge up on the bigger companies, is that they are creative and more creative. They're more willing to try new things and think outside the bun, as I like to say. If you remember the 1980s commercials back in, think outside the bun. But so we need to be creative and innovative as we are working through the options for whatever it is that we're attempting to win and applying our strategy. All right, so winning. So in this case, we won the project against all odds. I mean, really the odds were stacked against us to winning that project. And so we succeeded because we changed our attitude. Instead of looking at everything that indicated that they were great indicators that we had a snowball's chance in Hades of winning this project. New customer, never done automation before, competitor in the same industrial park, and what was the last one there that we had? Oh yeah, we were late to the games, right? So someone had already quoted, right? So if you add all those up, a normal person would say, we don't even need to waste our time in this situation. But we had a winning attitude. We created a plan. We executed the plan. We communicated. We talked about it. We continued to maintain a positive, expectant attitude of winning. We led with accountability for each other. We held each other accountable, and we led. We went forward. We didn't worry about how much time it was going to take. We worked the weekends. We did whatever we needed to do in order to ensure that we were going to be successful in that project. So again, we were willing to do whatever it takes. So the question that I have for all of you, are you winners? I know you can be. We all can be. But it takes a winning attitude and an expectation and a desire to overcome the resistance that all of us face in pursuit of winning. So I want to encourage you, just do what it takes. Identify what are the excuses. How can you overcome those excuses and move yourself forward to winning? And then when you do lose, take those lessons from losing. Don't put your head down. So, failures are just opportunities for future successes. We have to fail in order to succeed in the future, because if there were no failure, there'd be no success, right? So that concludes today's discussion. Well, we'll summarize here. Okay, humans are predisposed to quitting. That's homeostasis, right? We talked about that. The first step in winning is overcoming the psychological predisposition to pursue the path of least resistance. We have a country full of path of least resistance. Everything. The media, they want us to do the path of just do whatever they say. The corporations, path of least resistance. Hey, you want to be beautiful? Take this pill. You want to do this? Take this pill, right? So path of least, you don't have to exercise. You don't have to do the work. Just take this. And then, of course, the politicians, they're going to pander to anybody that'll vote for them and then cast you aside whenever they get what they want. So they are definitely all about the path of least resistance as it relates to getting our votes. So it's tough to overcome that just as an individual, as a country, but it's important to realize what's working against us, right? So we must overcome that path of least resistance mentality that we're all facing. And then we have to have a winning mindset, and that is going to ultimately determine our success long-term and throughout our lives, right? The winning mindset and expectancy to win. So winners use the lessons learned from the loss to fuel their next win. We talked about that. And then we let them go. We let them know. So we are going to win. So we tell our team, we are going to win. We are going to win. We tell ourselves, we are going to win. We set that expectation of winning. So then we show them by leading. So if we're leading a team, we show them by doing what is necessary, by doing the work, by not backing down, by pushing forward day and night, whatever we need to do in order to move forward in executing the strategy that we've put together is how you lead a team to victory. And then that's the last one. We want to lead them to victory. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's Industry Cast. Next week, September 16th, we're going to be talking about the benefits of ultrasonic servo welding. Mark Iantoni from Duquesne is going to join us. I'm excited about that. And then September 30th, Chuck Haggard, a good friend of mine, is going to join us. And we're going to talk about electric vehicle and powertrain in the powertrain industry. And we welcome any ideas on topics that you would like to cover. Obviously, I love covering these personal development topics, but the idea is IndustryCast. So things that are in manufacturing that we can put out there, useful content to help people advance their careers. Really, that's what we want to do, and that's what we're all about. So thanks to everyone who took the time today, all of our customers out there. We are honored to have you as a customer. We are grateful that you would work with us. It's Mike Dorsey down there in South Carolina, Chris Mullins in Eastern North Carolina and Virginia. And then, so now this is Russ in Western North Carolina and select upstate accounts there in South Carolina, as Mr. Hooper has decided to take some time off. So appreciate each and every one of you. Have an awesome day, and we will talk to you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.